Before we get started adding points to our project, let's go ahead and talk about a few settings that we need to predetermine before we create our points. So over in our tab, we're going to go over to the setup panel and we're going to click on settings. And in settings, in the field point settings dialog box, we have three tabs we want to discuss. In the annotation tab, this controls our annotation information that appears when we add a point and we add annotation with the point. We have the ability to add a first part and a second part to the point. So the first point, let's say we can either add a description or a point number. And we can do the same thing, but decide which one we want first and which one we want second. So if you want the description to be added, you can go ahead and put the description on there. For my example here, we'll go ahead and just leave it as point number and no description at all. Then we need to look at the actual text height. And this is a modeled text height. So depending on what settings you have, you want to make sure that you specify your actual text height according to your view scale for your drawing. Then we have our text style information, and this is going to be annotative from the text style information that is found in the actual drawing. Then we want to also specify what is the layer that we want to go ahead and place our annotation in. And in here, or even our points, we want to make sure to specify what is the annotation layer when we add the information in here. So we're going to go ahead and just leave it at 0 for this example. Then in the placement of the point, do we want to include a leader? We have a checkbox for that. And if we do include the leader, where is that leader located? Where is the actual annotation located? And we have upper or lower left and right corners of the point, and then it will be placed accordingly. Then we have the text offset without the leader and the text offset with a leader. I want to specify those two values there. And if so, we decide to place the text manually, we can go ahead and specify that option too. And if we want to go ahead and rotate after placement of that text. Under tooltip, this gives us the information about our points. So when we hover over one of our points, we can go ahead and show data according to what we've done. Point number, description, entity name, elevation, coordinates, and so forth. Attribute information is found under the General tab. So on the General tab, we can define 5 attributes for each of our points. If you're using Trimble FieldLink software for field layout, the attribute information will display on those controllers. So therefore, you can give your field personnel a little bit more information about the point. So you can specify what that point is for, maybe size or type or anything else in that matter. So here's a good way to actually customize your point before you do the layout. All right, so we'll go ahead and close field point settings. Taking a look below settings, we have the setup option. So we're going to go ahead and click on setup. We've got a couple of different options in here to look at. So I'll first look at license manager. In the license manager, this will actually display the license information. And if you've set up your field points to be shared on a network environment, then here's where you would actually go ahead and allow you to borrow a license or release a license back into the pool for you to actually share it. So right now I don't have a roaming option, but if I wanted to do that, I can go ahead and click on the start roaming option here and then move forward. You see here, I can go ahead and say how long do I want to roam for, 2 to 30 days. So we're actually going to check out a license for me to take it with me if I need to. And we're going to go ahead over here, going back over here again. You're about to check in roaming license. We'll say yes. We're going to check it back in. And you see there, it says no for roaming. All right. So once that is set up, then we can go ahead and move on to our next one, which is our point entity settings. Our point entity settings describes our points that we're going to use. So in here we have a standard location of where the actual points are found. And then below that, you can actually specify additional location. So if you created your own points, you can go ahead and define that by selecting an additional location if you don't want to add it to the original location where they are installed. Down below, you see that there are unassigned points, and we have a 3D box, 3D cone, and so forth and so forth. different options that you can choose 2D points or 3D points. We can go ahead and assign these points into categories. So we do have category options. So right now it's unassigned, but if you click on the three little dots there, we can go ahead and create categories to divide or separate our points for more grouping ability. So we can go ahead and hit add new category. We have the ability to delete category or edit that the name of that category itself. Once that is done, we can go ahead and close that out, and then the categories will display on the list. And I'm going to go ahead and leave mine as unassigned. We can go ahead and name it, and then you see there's an entity particular drawing that is looking for, and then whether that actual point is visible for us to actually choose it from our list. This gives me the option to make it hidden or make it visible there. So if we're not going to work with the 3D box, we can go ahead and tell it not to show in our list. And if we're not going to work with the cylinder, we can do the same thing as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the three that I'm not going to use. If I wanted to use a cone, I can do a cone or any of the other options here. Once we are specified the settings, we can go and hit OK. Our next on the list for setup is our revision cloud entity settings. And in here, we can see what is the revision cloud that we want to use when we bring points back in and see any issues going on. Trimble field points will go ahead and cloud those points for us. We can specify we got a circular cloud option, a circle, an elliptical cloud, rectangular cloud, and then a square cloud. So depending on which one you want to use, we have that ability to use any of these. We'll hit OK. And the last thing on here is the rebuild CUI. And again, this pertains to the whole ribbon interface of Trimble field points. I suggest that you look into the help options for more detail on this. But again, this rebuilds and uploads a new user interface for your Trimble field points if you're having problems.